Okay, here we go. Okay. All right, so this is a review, and people, I'm sure that people are going to keep coming in because we're missing like 5 people that said they were going to come. This is the review for the Japanese landscapes that we did, and here's Harvey. That we did at Murakami. So I'm hoping that the core people, which Carl is on here and Ira's on here and Harvey, Evie said she's coming, but I don't see her yet, will be able to help us. And the way I divided the pictures this time was the first group of oh, there's Evie. The first group of pictures is going to be pictures that have multiple components of the landscape. So it would have water and trees and some kind of little statue of some kind, or a waterfall of some kind or whatever. And then the last grouping are things that are components of the landscape. So somebody shot a flower, somebody else shot something else that would just be an isolated kind of thing that might appear in the landscape. It rained that day, and we clearly told everybody, go on the walk, enjoy the walk, learn everything from the docent, and then go back and take your pictures. Well, guess what? It rained exactly when the docent finished. So unless you stayed until the rain stopped, if it ever did, or
we didn't listen to what you said.
We didn't listen to the instructions and got a couple of shots in the middle. Then people were sort of stuck. So it didn't matter to me, it's a picture is a picture. So some people asked if they could just submit whatever they had. And I said, yeah, but that's how I divided it. Okay, so let's do the screen share thing. This is always something I'm never sure that is going to work. Okay, and I want to do PowerPoint. Oh, hold on, let me let Rosalind in. And okay, so now can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
All right, now let me start the slideshow. And you should be seeing a full screen. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes, it worked. I love it when a plan comes together. Okay, so the first thing I did, and I actually sent you this separately, if you were interested, is I went back to the articles that they sent us and just copy and pasted these key points out of one of the articles. So these are the kinds of things that we should be seeing in the pictures. And what I'm hoping is that as we move through the pictures, that the core team people will lead the discussion. Okay, so just to review: water, rocks, sand, and gravel, actual buildings and tea houses, bridges, stone lanterns and basins. Those are like little statues that were around, trees and flowers, and the koi fish. So let's see what people got. Okay, core people, it's yours. Ira, you have to take yourself off mute.
Yeah, I know how to do that. I'm just trying to. Actually, there's an easy way to do it. You just hold the space bar
Oh,
while
that's
you
good to
talk,
know.
and then you release it.
Okay.
I like the general look of the picture. I think that the bottom left is unnecessary. The wire at the bottom, I think if that was cut off, it would be a lot stronger picture of what we're focusing on. I like the idea that the rock is off center, so that you see the whole view going from right to left. I like that effect.
Okay, anybody else have anything to add?
What? I'm also waiting for the my car back.
It would be nice to see more detail on the gravel, because that was the whole purpose, was the decorative raking, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And I would have liked it maybe better without the bar across the bottom.
Right, that's what Ira just said.
Yeah. I concur with Ira.
Okay, so a crop that took off.
I do
Yeah.
like the border that was used.
Okay. Any other comments?
I didn't notice the border.
Bushes.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
say again, Eileen?
I like the way they did the bushes with that kind of caterpillary or serpent look.
We're
with
talking
the
about
red-
this, the dipping.
Yeah,
I thought it sort of followed the rock, you know, it was higher here and then it went lower and then lower still.
The docent said that that was supposed to represent mountains,
The back part.
that the way they sculpted the bushes, that was supposed to represent mountains.
Yes, that's
Adrian?
right.
Adrian,
Yes,
if the photographer had moved a bit to the left and it emphasized that rock more than anything else, and it emphasized it with the way that that bush above it works in the curve that you're discussing, we could have eliminated the entire left-hand bottom of this photograph and not missed it. We also do need to have more detail in the rock garden, which they rake very carefully on purpose in a given pattern, which we are not seeing here. This is basically a shot that is more of a snapshot of a place you've been than trying to understand what Murakami stands for.
Carl, how would you, this actually happens to be my shot and I totally agree with everything everybody said. How would you have gotten more, if there wasn't any real light to create any kind of shadows, how would you have gotten more detail in this area
Stand up on the bench, Adrian, that was in
and
there.
shoot down a little bit?
The only thing you could have done was just stand up on the bench.
I thought
Couldn't
like
hear what Ann said.
whenever I don't have detail in bird feathers, you always tell me to use spot metering and that would help. Would that help in this case?
Well, in post-processing, this could have easily, you could have easily opened up the shadows and closed down the highlights, and this picture might have worked better as a vertical, emphasizing that rock and that bush than trying to show the extent of the rock garden itself.
Carl, I was going to say the same thing. You don't
Interesting.
need the left half of the picture at all. It could be squared or portrait. The right half, I think, stands on its own without the left.
If you would have zoomed in more, you could have eliminated the metal bar and you would get more detail on the gravel, the
Right,
lines on the gravel.
okay. Thank you.
Ooh,
Nice.
So this is
That's-
Ann's and
That's gorgeous.
it's a, she used a pinhole filter.
Oh, beautiful.
Wow.
Like that.
It worked
Stunning
well
image.
because it was after the rain. I
And
waited.
beautiful.
It was still
beautiful,
drizzling
Ann.
and had the mist out there, so you could pull the mist in through the pinhole.
that's
Beautiful.
It's like you're looking through a pinhole and like seeing an enchanted garden. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
beautiful.
Beautiful, gorgeous.
Wow.
Thank
It
you.
has like kind of like an ethereal feel to it. At
How
least
did
to
you
me.
get the arch across the top? Is that there?
That's part of what the pinhole filter does.
That's incredible.
If you look to the left and the right of the top,
at
there's
this
a
picture.
little bit of atmospheric fog and mist, and it just nails that.
Wow.
And
I'm expecting the lady of the lake to come up with her arm up with the sword.
Yeah.
And it also, it makes this like duplicate, you know, like in here and in here, it's all like a it's not even a reflection. It's almost just
Got it.
duplicated.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Almost does like
That's
a
one of the
kaleidoscope.
best Murakami pictures I've ever seen.
Huh,
Thank you. It's a fun filter.
It's very cool. And you're saying mostly it works when it's like a foggy or hazy
It
day?
does strange things, Adrian. I'm still playing with it. It does kaleidoscope type thing. It does, as you said, triple and quadruple. If you do certain things, you'll see that there's triples all the way around. But in this case, because it was a landscape with a zoom far away, it tended to give me what I wanted. Sometimes I look at the thing and I'm like, God, you gotta get off the lens. It's horrible. Never know.
So when you look through the viewfinder or on the display at the back, this is what you see?
Yes.
Wow,
You'll
Wow.
see it. You'll see it.
that
Yeah.
is very, cool. I'm not a landscape person, but this makes me want to do landscapes because this is interesting.
Yeah.
This, it's just beautiful.
Aren't we looking for more clarity in the center of the screen?
Oh, that's
Very hard to make out what's on the outside of the big rock in the center. It's hard to make out what the other things are. Wouldn't it pay to be a little closer? Or
There's
use
Well,
no
then-
reason to know what's going on within that rock area. The etherealness of it makes it function just the way it is and gives it that Japanese aura to it. It works this way.
Yeah, because if you went in more, then I believe you would lose some of this halo-y thing that's going on.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to do
You
that.
don't want to crop out any of the reflection.
Right. Very
I just
nice.
see- I just see a lack of clarity besides the big rock, that's all.
Okay.
It's funny, I have that one exactly almost the same way, but the enhanced color looks great.
It's water, plants, a little statue.
Yeah, but it was a cloudy day. That's enhanced color, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It's not enhanced, then it wasn't that day. It was a sunny day I was there.
No wonder.
It's cheating.
It's really pretty.
It's very pretty. It looks to me like very normal colors. I don't see the enhancement in it.
Well, I'm looking at mine that I have. It's a
Yeah, it's a very pretty shot.
Anybody else?
I
Okay.
agree. The colors do look natural. They do look real. I
A lot of
wouldn't,
people would shoot that and they would put that statue, that little round, and I believe they told us what it was, but I forgot.
Yeah.
But if they moved that to the middle and made it more symmetrical, it would not
No.
work as well as it works this way. So it was a good C. You know, to move that off.
The composition on this is fantastic. You have that on the right, you have the trees on
Yeah.
the left, and it frames the middle. It's beautiful composition and
Very balanced.
clear. It's a beautiful, is this cell phone shot?
This is what it looks like on a cloudy day.
Cell phone shot.
Amazing. I like that the statue was off-centered, and I like the beautiful colors of the flowers. My only question is whether the upper left, whether you need that tree in the upper left, whether
Yeah.
it frames it or it distracts from it.
That was actually my question, whether or not you would edit that out.
But what are we?
I think it's a little
discussing?
bit of a distraction. For me, it distracts a little bit.
This.
Oh,
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah,
if you put your hand over that corner, you can see that it is somewhat of a distraction. If you,
yeah, yeah.
if you block it out.
Mhm.
And you know what's distracting me? All this dead stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
looked-
I might have walked over to the right a little bit more and seen what, if I could get a good landscape, or like they said in the other one, maybe this is a vertical. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of dead stuff here, all
Yeah,
in this whole
yeah,
middle
mhm.
area.
Yeah,
It
No,
truly
it
is a
would
very
work very
popular-
nicely as a vertical, and then you could have the tree that people are finding distracting, not so much distracting, if we made this into almost two separate pictures, the one on the left and the one which is less interesting on the right.
Yeah, the one on the
It
right.
might work
would
as a square.
Work.
Agree, Carl, you're right. I agree.
It would be amazing if there was a pretty sky. But it was what it was that day.
Adrian,
Yeah,
I
you
think
can
the sky
Photoshop
works
it
very
in,
well
right?
with this and doesn't distract from the grayness of the statue itself.
I don't know. I like it blue. I don't know that I'd want clouds and interesting things. I just would like a prettier color than that. It's like a stormy kind of thing. I guess because we were there and it got stormy, I'm not a happy camper. Okay. I didn't even see this when we were there.
Adrian's going to like this. She likes benches.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
That's one of her favorite things.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, serene, calming. I like it. Portrait as it's shot. Very nice.
This is Eva. She couldn't join us today. So I told her to just go ahead and send her pictures. But
Yeah, I mean, it looks like she enhanced the color, but it's still believable to a certain extent.
yeah.
But I also love the way the branch of the tree is the same angle as the bench, and
Oh, yeah.
it's parallel to the angle of the bench, and I like that.
I find that lower right-hand corner distracting though.
Mhm.
The pathway you're talking
Oh,
about?
the path,
Yeah.
yeah.
But what could you do about that? I mean, unless you moved yourself
Yeah,
You can
and
move yourself.
recomposed it.
yeah, you have to move yourself
You could
clone
clone more,
the,
clone the dirt onto the
or clone the
path.
dirt, yeah.
right.
That can be cloned.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it would really be easy because it's so messy. You don't have to do a perfect job.
Right.
When you clone that, is that something you do on Photoshop or
Yes.
Photo Elements or what?
Elements.
Oh, okay.
And it's really easy. If it's a perfect, like a smooth thing, it's a little more difficult. But when it's got all these colors and textures
Right,
and everything,
right.
it wouldn't matter. It'll
Right,
look
you
fine.
wouldn't see it, right? You
Right.
wouldn't see a break between what you added, right?
Right, exactly.
And as long as we're cloning, I would clone some trees up in the upper left.
In
Get rid
here.
of that bright spot, yeah.
Okay. I like how it you're pulled to the back.
Yeah.
Very pretty.
Mm.
That must be Ira.
No.
No, it's actually
Oh,
not
that
mine,
is
but I love it.
beautiful.
It was a takeoff on Ira.
Is that
It
the
looks,
Van
it looks like a
Gogh
quilt.
or-
Eh,
I saw a quilt in Hawaii that looked like that.
Nicely done.
Yeah, how
So,
was that done?
what kind of editing tool was used?
It was a filter where I never go. On either Photoshop Elements or Photoshop probably.
And what is it called? Do you remember?
Oils, let me. I'll have to go look it up. I think it's called oil paint.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it looks like heavy paintbrush strokes.
I thought it made the leaves of the trees look very Japanese.
Yeah,
It looks very dreamy.
Beautiful.
yeah, really nice.
Different. I really like it. This would be a great, I mean, like if you shoot a picture and
look
it
at
comes
this.
out, no, not sharp,
It's in-
you could
they
do this
use
to
in
it and really
Photoshop, they
save
did
it.
like it's brush strokes. So it looks more like a Japanese garden.
Nice job.
Save that for creative
you.
for next year.
Yeah.
I like that.
This looks like something was done to it, either too much sharpening or too much contrast, or it just was the way it was. Do you remember whoever did this?
The sky I made bluer,
Right.
basically. I don't remember doing that much. I really don't. The rock on the bottom was that orange cast, and I didn't do very much. No.
I like the
You know,
composition.
if we had had the same opinion as Adrian did that it was too sharp and a little bit too contrasty, and Sheila said digitalized.
Huh,
Has a grainy look.
yeah, a grainy look. And
Almost-
sometimes the picture just comes out like
Grain
that.
looks different.
That-
Grain looks different and gives a different and somewhat gauzier looking effect than the over sharpening in digital does.
Yeah, it's usually when I pull back when it starts to look like this, but it's pretty. Except more dead stuff. I don't know why I'm so sensitive to dead stuff, or at least unleafed stuff, because of the time of the year. But again, this has gravel, it has greenery and a little statue, a little meadow back here. Those are the components that we're looking for.
There's a highlight of that rock we were saying should be closed in on.
Like that.
And what did you do in the background to do this?
I use the filter. What I do is I highlight the rocks and then I blur the background to
Right.
get that effect. And then I added a filter. I added an acrylic filter in, it was in Topaz.
It's a nice shot, Ira. Really nice. Soft, dreamy, sort of. I like
Thank
it.
you.
Very pretty.
But that same comment, like on mine, where you don't really see all the work of the sand.
Yeah, it's subtle.
You see
It
some of
wasn't
it.
my intent. My intent was to focus on the rocks.
Right, so you didn't
Yeah,
want
I
that
think
as a
Ira did
distraction.
it.
I
I
like
think
the,
Ira did it just fine. And unlike Adrian's shot, which gave us much more to look at, and therefore we were focusing on the gravel. In this case, we're not. We're focusing on the rock, and we're focusing on the softness of the background that Ira has created here. And it just integrates exceedingly well. It's a really nicely done image.
I like the main rock, but I find the rock on the left a little jarring because it's too sharp. The outline.
That's some of that happens when you isolate out something
well,
so that
yeah.
he's working on the background and that.
Right, and that's why I find that a little jarring. The big rock is fine, but I find that left rock, just because it just doesn't look quite right. It's a little jarring to me.
I know when I do this, I try to feather that a little bit, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, it's too sharp. It's too
But-
sharp.
Yeah, because if you look really carefully, all in here also,
Can see it.
there's
That
artifacts.
doesn't bother me as much as the other rock, and I
this
think
one.
it's because also the shape of the rock.
Yeah,
The shape of the rock where is very sharp. So it makes that sharpness even more, more pronounced.
The rock is darker, so the very little
Yeah.
frame is more noticeable on it.
yeah.
Maybe if he had cut it off and just used the big rock again and eliminated the rock on the left.
No.
I was thinking that too, because the big rock in the middle is almost too centered. I'd like maybe a shift somehow just to make the bigger rock
Mhm.
over to the left more. I don't know what's on the right that's hidden. Just,
Yeah, I
Did
don't
you-
remember.
did you try shifting it? I'm sure you did.
I personally like it. but
I don't do things centered, so that's why I said that.
I like how you chose to do the drop shadow on the mounting, the way it looks like it's mounted away from the back, from the mat. I think that's a good choice for this kind of a picture.
The framing is great, Ira.
Yeah.
It adds a lot. It's very nice.
Love it.
their first waterfall.
Yeah. I don't think it's sharp. I don't think the whole picture is sharp to my eye,
Yeah, it's.
which is
it
fine
could-
if
it could
that's
be a
what you,
little sharper.
yeah. Like a softer image. I think the water is
What is-
sharp. I should have looked at the depth of field when I put it up here. I didn't do that.
The
Again,
water,
this
being
is a
in
photograph
the midst
that would
of
have
this-
worked better as a vertical than as a horizontal. The
Yeah,
important part
I
of
don't
this
like
image
the
is
idea
in the
that the
center
water
of the
falls
image.
is centered. I don't know whether I want it on the left or on the right, but I don't like it centered like that. If you move it to the right, then you lose those beautiful rocks on the right. And you lose it to the, move it to the left, and it just doesn't seem right.
It's not really center. It's kind of off center.
I'm looking at this on my phone, so
Oh.
I'm losing a lot. But the waterfalls looks like a very shaggy Afghan dog reaching up for something.
That's funny. Is this the head?
Yeah,
It really
I
does.
said very shaggy.
Very.
So the
That would be
answer probably
interesting.
is what we were talking about, making it a vertical, that maybe make one vertical picture over here and see how it looks, and then make one vertical picture over here and see how it looks, and then decide afterwards. So make two different crops of the same picture.
When I look at this, I see the waterfall is coming from left to right. So the crop, if anything, should be a touch. Should probably pull in a little bit from the left-hand side to just move that a little bit more off center and leave the right alone. Don't add anything, don't move, just take a little off the left, because if you took it off the right, it wouldn't look right because the waterfall is coming right to left. I mean, left to right. to bottom.
Right. Carl, you were saying something before and someone cut you off. Do you remember?
I think it was
I
me.
was saying, Adrian, it is a vertical. In other words, both the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the picture are not really needed. But then going to what Ann said, she makes a very valid point as far as using the left-hand side and how the water runs. So you could go either way. It is either a vertical or it's the way Ann said, but it doesn't work quite as well this way.
That's a double waterfall. You see, there's one all the way in the back also.
Yeah, and there's that left to right again. With a little too tight on the right. It's too cropped, too tight in for me on the right.
I think there's maybe too much to look at. And
It's a
nothing
little
more-
busy.
Yeah, that's a good word.
It's very
It's
hard.
that
when you
tree,
try to
it's that
get
tree
both
branch on the
waterfalls.
left. That tree branch, if the photographer had moved his camera, his or her camera a little bit to the right and given that waterfall a little bit place to go and a little bit downwards to give the water a place to be, we would have eliminated the problem of that tree branch in the upper left and given us more of interest in the lower right for the waterfall itself.
Coral, if you also took that and you dropped the top down a little bit and cropped it, the top has no value.
This whole area.
So if you could lose a lot on the top, move it in a little bit from the left side and come down from the top and you would have what you want. That's my feeling anyway.
And there's still too much to look at, even if you did that, I think. It's just
I'd
a
have to
lot.
see it. Yeah, have to see it.
Yeah.
I would bring it way down though to the top of that waterfall. So it's just maybe, you know, maybe a half an inch or an inch over it. That's it. So I'd have to look at it. Adrian would have to do her, put it in the program and move the.
Yeah, I move it around. I have fitness sign up today, so I didn't do any of those for today's thing. I didn't add.
We were denied.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gravel is great here. You can see exactly how it's been raked. The design, very pretty. The tree bothers me a lot.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the tree. If there was a little
Bob,
space.
it's not the tree. It's the gravel on the right. In other words, if you made this again into a vertical and stopped at the tree bark, you have a very interesting contrast between the bark itself and the, whatever you call it, statue on the left. It's the right-hand side of the picture is basically not needed here and has nothing to add to the photograph.
You know, I think the tree is very jarring.
Yeah.
These Japanese gardens are supposed to be peaceful, serene, and Harvey, I know you commented about the trees with that bark,
Right.
but I just don't like it. And certainly, I think in this picture, if the tree were not there, it would be a much more peaceful scene. Just my.
So the photographer needs to move around so that the tree is not right in the middle of the picture, because there must be some kind of space in here where if you were standing over here and shooting, you wouldn't have the tree. You'd have this, whatever, I think it's a lantern.
Yes.
Because look at how much detail there is. It's just really, the picture has a lot of texture. The bark itself has a lot of texture. It's too much. And it's too smack in your face. But focusing in on the information that's available on the lantern and the information that's available in the sand would have been a really beautiful picture. If you got it from over this way. So cropping with your feet or telephoto with your feet are two important things to think about when you're shooting. You shoot less.
Real
and look
story
more.
in this image is the tree and the lantern, the peacefulness of the lantern versus the roughness of the tree. They work really well together in this image. And yes, even though a Japanese garden is supposed to be peaceful, the lantern has been placed there for a reason.
So are you saying that it's not so much that the tree is a lot of texture and almost too interesting? I think that it's jarring because of its position.
Yes,
A
absolutely.
good point, Adrian. Yeah, if there was a
Yes.
slightly change in the position, but that's why I suggested the elimination of the total right-hand side of this picture. Right
Right.
now, the tree is utterly centered.
Oops,
And
sorry.
no, that does not work.
Wait a minute, sorry. Right. It's centered and it's forward of the lantern. I think that's also a problem.
Yep.
So it's like right in
Look,
your
look
face.
at the way the gravel is functioning around the lantern and around the tree. They did it on purpose. They did it to integrate that tree with that lantern.
So this sweep of the way they raked it. This one's very soft.
Very soft, yep.
Maybe too soft.
Definitely too soft.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to concentrate on, whether you concentrate on the lantern or you concentrate on the tower or the background. The background does nothing on the right side.
The lantern, where the
and-
focal point should have been.
Then that doesn't do anything to the picture. The picture is the island, but you don't know where to go first, whether the tower is lost in the background.
All the way over here.
Yeah.
Landscapes are hard. I just find them really difficult. Like, what do you include? What do you exclude? You know, when you're cropping with your eye to decide what to include, it's hard.
So we've seen some of Anne's photographs where she might put a little person into something and give you the idea of the grandeur of the landscape. It's very difficult to do otherwise because we can't take in the scale of it. And in
Right.
this particular photograph, we don't have any particular place to look. In other words, where do you want that eye to wander to and rest on and learn from? It isn't here.
And I think it should have been the lantern.
Here.
And then from you pick where you want the eye to definitely go. You pick the focal point and then you work around it. But I don't even know, there's a little bit of reflection of the water up front, but I don't know that you need that because you've got reflection of the rocks behind it. I think you take the whole bottom of that first line of reflection out, which is the green right up
Yes.
front. Take the bottom off. I mean, forget about the focal length. There's a problem with the focus. It's too soft. I would take that statue, that tower in the back left out of it. And I would take that line in the front of it out and I would bring it in tighter. And then maybe you might have gotten a better focal point with the lantern. I would have worked it differently. It has potential, it's there. It's just didn't isolate the lantern enough. And the reflection off the rocks, which is pretty.
Right. So in here is where you decide what to include,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
You can have the back with a few trees and that and the leaves that are on the ground in the back, that's okay. But just take some off the left and some off the bottom and then move from there. You'd have to start to work it in that regard. That's very interesting.
Too much white pathway, I think.
Too much this.
Yeah,
Mhm.
take the bottom off, yep.
I like it.
I like it. I would like it with less on the bottom. I think there's
Yes.
not enough value on the bottom. I think if you were to take the bottom off of that and still keep that line that kind of leads your eye, you know that that's a bridge. You know that you're following the path in your mind because you don't need to see it. You know what's there with the angle of the bridge on the railing. So I just think take the bottom off, give a really pretty shot. Nice framing. A little
Wow.
inverted.
No, she was there at night.
I was there at night.
So was it lit up like that at night?
Yes, it's lit up beautifully. It's only open for private events in the evening.
Didn't know that, Barbara. Nice to know.
Magnificent at night.
Very pretty. Have to try it.
So how do you get an invitation to go at night?
You become a major donor to Jewish National Fund.
Oh, that's JNF.
Okay.
So did he use a tripod?
No, I just stood by the lake and took pictures.
I think you need to
Wow.
take some of the sky out of that. I think the sky has
Too much,
a
too much.
lot
sky.
of non-value to that.
What was done to the color?
Then it becomes a panorama.
Those were the lights, colored lights.
Really?
They use red and blue and purple, all kinds of different colors depending upon where you're standing.
Beautiful.
It
Just
would
let-
have more of a panoramic look if you
Yes.
took the top down, but if you took the top down, it would put the middle of all those trees and whatnot in the middle of the thirds, of the rule of thirds. You right now have a horizon line at the top of the trees, which is half. And the other part of that picture is half. And it's very unusual that that ever works. So I would just take it down about a third of it right off the top.
So like around here.
Right.
Yeah, and if you didn't like
right.
the panoramic look, you could take a little in from the left or
No,
more in from, you could take a little bit out of the left, but it depends upon how the lighting would work. But panoramics are fine, nothing wrong with them.
You know, they do weddings there also.
Very pretty.
Yeah.
This is
Love
the
what's
same
happening.
spot where we were spending time on a picture with the little tower right there at the end.
Yep. The little
I like
lantern.
what's happening in the water.
I love what's happening with the water. It's beautiful.
Really pretty.
Very nicely done with the shadows of the bench. Now, let's see,
What would you do about this?
trying to decide.
Yeah, I mean, could you crop it? I don't,
I'd take that out.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was late. Julio showed up at my house.
Oh, that's good.
And since I can't get a handyman that often, I had a picture I printed out and he went to frame it for me and hang it for me.
Oh, nice.
So you remember the one I asked you about the
Yeah.
the ribbon?
Yeah.
I found the image.
Good.
It's my picture. I tried to clone it out. It was hard.
Oh, yeah.
Too much there to clone out.
Yeah.
You would have had to have shot it differently and moved your body on a little bit of a different angle to move outside of that. So I don't see how you can take it out.
It was too messy.
Yeah. I would
It would
think.
take you about an hour or two
Yeah.
to try to use the what are they called, spot peeling brush?
Yeah, but it would never be perfect. And there's so much water there that you'd be over.
Yeah, that's one of, you got to move your feet and look for a different angle.
Right.
Again, make it square or keep the left as a portrait style.
I'd make it square.
Right. I think square would be very nice.
Bench is pretty though with the shadows.
Yeah, this is
And I would
beautiful.
lighten the shadows just a little bit. There's a Dodge brush in Photoshop that you can use
Yeah, too dark on the bottom right.
Right here.
It
around
loses.
the bottom of the brick. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Something
Pretty
work-
though. When I keep looking here and it's really pretty.
Yeah, just cut the whole tree right out.
Mhm.
Bring an axe next time.
That's all you can do.
I think this is oversaturated.
Yeah, this is Eva. She may have added something in the, she only edits in her phone.
Right.
So you
But there are
can't,
applications you can use on your phone. I'd like to see the fencing a little darker. And it just seems it's too light. I like the direction that it went.
yeah.
Now that looks like bamboo.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
It is.
And where is the center of interest in the photograph?
Yeah.
My eye,
With it, yeah.
my eye keeps going to the black band around the trees on the top.
Here,
I agree.
Yeah.
which you don't want to, because that's
No.
just, that's like, they're just tying the tree so it doesn't fall down.
Right.
As
and
opposed to
tying the whole fence. Yeah.
Right. I mean,
might
the
have been a
fence is tied together to, that's how they make the fence, but this is just,
It
The
might have
garden
been a
is
shot to just
teaching the
see.
tree.
wait,
which
there's
way
too
to
many
go.
people talking.
Okay.
I'm
The
sorry, I
garden
heard,
is teaching the tree which way to grow.
right.
Black band is there on a reason. Now, what the black band is doing on the fence, I'm not sure about.
Holding the fence together.
It's
Holding the
holding it
fence
together.
Yeah,
They're
it's
all
creating the fence.
Yeah, they're all braided ropes that hold the fence together.
Right. The
It would've
docent,
been fun
the
to see them
docent,
isolated.
the docent said that depending upon the knots made in the braided black rope, that you could identify the craftsman that put together that fence.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
That black band can probably be erased.
This one?
Yes.
Well, the other thing is if she didn't want that in the picture, she could have walked a little bit further on the path to where there wasn't a tree that was being directed like that. And
Yeah.
just started her picture here and gone more,
So this started.
because that's I mean, I know what it's there for, but to me, that's distracting.
They can't see me here.
And she has this glary part here. Perhaps if she had been standing and
See the
shooting
leg.
here, it would have been better.
Move off to the side. Or take a stool from the kitchen.
Oh, now this is that same location as the other picture.
Mhm.
Yeah, just a different angle and it's vertical.
I would like the left and the right crop. Get rid of that tree on the left and get rid of the tree on,
You're talking about this stuff in the sky.
yes.
I still think that tree bothers me.
Yeah, a tree's a major distraction.
It is because the landscaping in the background is beautiful. The colors, and the lantern is nice, but the tree is a distraction to me.
The gravel tells the story of the tree and of the little piece next to it. In this particular photograph, if you eliminated the two trees, the one on the far left and the one on the far right, you would cease to give the picture any sort of a border. With those two trees still in place, the center tree and the lantern work well together. This is a place where you might have gotten a bit closer and worked a bit more on the particular part, because the top part of the tree is less interesting than the bottom part. So again, we might be looking at a square picture here, where the picture comes down nearer the top of the clouds in the background and works from there and see if it can function. It's a fairly static picture as the pieces are. So that's some of the problems we're looking at here.
I think you can use the tree as the right frame.
Again, I think I would have stepped more to this side.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
me too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
correct.
see, just to see whether it looked differently. I just think the one thing that's really interesting is the coloration in here, where the tree bark is so interesting. And then you have this like greenish tinge to the little lantern. I would just want to explore that a lot more, moving around, and seeing what it looked like.
I'm all about the sand.
Yeah. Well, what Carl was saying is that the direction here of the raking, draws your attention to the two pieces right here, the tree and the lantern, and like unifies them and brings them together. I'd love to know more about the raking. The lady explained some, but not enough about how they decide on the raking and whether they change it or it's always the same. Did any of your docents talk about that?
The circle
Changing
indicates the ripples, and when it's square, when it's not circular, it's a flat C.
It's a ripple when it's a circle. Is that what you said,
Yes.
Ira?
Well, the gravel is supposed to represent water
Right.
when there is no water. So the way they rake it would be like the rings of water, the ripples of water coming out from maybe a rock or a tree or whatever in the pond, the lake, whatever.
Any comments about this?
I crop away a little bit of the bottom, make
This,
it square.
It certainly takes my eye to the dripping down into the penny pond.
I think it's too much
It's
to the bottom.
a bit saturated.
Yeah,
It's grainy and grungy. It's got that sharpening, that same look that that other picture had.
right.
I don't know what that is. Don't know. if that's
Harvey,
a-
those are both yours, right?
They are.
yeah.
And that it is,
Nice shot.
it is very grainy. It is very, and it looks very much like that.
Okay, yeah, good. I'm just saying, I
It did.
don't know how else you
You
could. solve it.
didn't do any topaz to it or
No,
any
didn't
on one.
No. And I was looking at the water, the ripples in the water and the pennies that were thrown in. And there was much more green on the upper right. And I did crop that a lot. So I took a part of that out. And that's what I saw.
The ripples in the water really take us back to what they're doing with the sand.
Exactly. That's what exactly right, Eileen. Right.
Ripples in the water are pretty with the coins.
Oh, this is nice. Mhm.
Also soft.
Where's that? Serene.
Where's that located?
This is Murakami.
I know it looked like it. Yes.
And crop it from the left and take the two sticks out of the
Yeah,
one.
take that, just take that stick out.
I take it
This
out.
one?
Yeah, the one that's coming down to the reflection, take it all out. Take that right up to
Ah.
the.
I have a recommendation when you use a spot healing brush. If you use, hold on to the shift key and start at one end and go in a straight line to the next end and click. It'll take out the whole line. You don't have to draw it. You don't have to draw it and take out things you don't want. But if something is fairly straight like this, if you start in an open area and then go to the next open area, you may only have to do two or three segments to get it out.
Okay,
No, that's not the issue in this particular picture. That whole area doesn't belong.
right.
It's
There's no value added over there.
I just
No.
crop it from the left, yep.
Right.
And
It's
there's
not a
more
lot.
dead stuff.
And a lot of green stuff.
Well, everybody keeps telling me, it's not my picture, but not to have things in the center. So is that an objection here?
No,
If you crop out to the left, the way we're suggesting, it automatically moves that over, which eliminates that issue.
Absolutely right. Mhm.
right, you make it 11 by 14 out of it, you'll get rid of that tree without an effort.
I think the answer, Doris, on the center is there's no rules that are true all the time. I mean, in
Okay.
this one doesn't need to be in the center, but there are some pictures that work really well when you put the object in the center.
If you crop it, like Ann just said, get rid of the left, then that is no longer in the center. It would work much better.
It would move to the right.
Mhm.
What works, and not always as a rule, but Darcy asked the question, so in a composition that's got symmetry to it where the object or the focal point is in the middle, if you have a reflection or you have something to the left and the right that are similar or the same, and then you have the object in the middle, where it's almost a mirror image to the left or the right, it works very well. I mean, that's an example of just leaving the object right in the middle all the time, but in this case, it would eliminate the problem. Just cut the left.
As a general comment, I think some of these pictures would look really well in square. And myself
Right.
included, you don't tend to think about square.
Yeah. I also went back and tried some of them black and white, but maybe I picked the wrong ones, but I thought that the real messy ones might do better in black and white, but they didn't particularly.
There's not enough contrast in most of these pictures. to get a
Right.
good look.
Yeah, you're probably right. Okay, so these are the things that are just smaller components or pictures that didn't work in in the other category.
Nice
Well,
curves.
I had one of the rocks, one rock and the sand, and you didn't have it in here.
Then it's in this section. I think your two are in both in this section. You gave me a flower and something else. So you'll see, because ones that didn't have multiple components, where it was mostly about the sand, then I left it in this one. You'll
Okay.
see.
Yeah.
Okay, what do people think about this?
I like the picture. I personally would like to, what I do is I isolate the object and bring it out a little bit more. It blends too much into the background, I think.
Yeah.
Is the whole picture, except for that sinewy branch, a reflection?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's puzzling because it certainly doesn't seem to be
you're
reflecting.
looking at it upside down. I
Yeah,
mean,
this is the way it was shot. I was
yes, I know.
standing on the
But
edge of
on the
the
top,
pond and just shooting right at the branch that was hanging over across a section of that little pond. And
the
everything was a reflection. I tried it in black and white. I didn't like it. It got lost, totally lost in black and white. So
Yeah.
I kept it. This is only slightly enhanced. These were the colors that were there.
Mhm. But am I wrong? But the top in the background, the trees, those are the roots. Those are the bottom of the trees.
But that's the reflection
Yes, I
of
know.
the trees on the other
understand.
side of the pond.
No, I understand.
Yes, Evie, you're correct.
So you're saying that maybe I should have inverted the
No,
picture
I'm
and put
just
the bottom and
understanding.
the top?
No, she was just making an observation.
It's very
Right, right.
interesting. I'm just,
Oh, actually, you know what?
understanding.
You know what? That would have been, you know what? If I did invert it, I'm trying to turn myself upside down. Then the sky would be, the reflected sky would be at the top, and maybe that would be more logical.
No, it's the way
No,
that it
I
is.
think
the
it's
way it
very
should be.
interesting this way.
It's great the way it is.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh,
It's really pretty.
interesting.
I like
This
the
is a gorgeous-
wave look that you can see along the rocks that divides the two. It's got a wavy look to it.
The
similar to
edging.
Water. It's very, very cool, the edging. Very cool.
Definitely peaceful.
Yeah. I want to keep looking at it.
Monochromatic.
Yeah.
It demonstrates exactly what they wanted you to see. The pebbles, exactly.
This is a detail
Nice job.
from that garden that was all rocks, pebbles,
Right, right.
stones.
Mhm.
And these obviously it's a close-up. I took it with my iPhone, and these were the colors.
Yeah.
I didn't change. I really didn't do anything to this except straighten it a drop.
Evie, it's a beautiful picture, and this might work in black and white because it's almost black and white anyhow.
Yeah.
You got the detail, Evie. It's lovely. Really nice.
Very lovely is right. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Lovely is
Yes,
perfect word.
yes, very nice.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Mm.
Okay. That's mine also. Not very zen, I know, or maybe not. I called this, I'm lost,
Mhm.
because that is an actual blossom. And it's there by itself in this tangle. I know that the whole image is too vague, but I just like that. I wanted to give that poor little blossom some attention. That's all.
And this, I think, would work really well as a square, as I said before, with the flower in the upper right corner or close to the upper right corner, and get rid of the sky.
Yeah.
So just use this lower part.
Basically, yeah.
Well, I wanted to show the isolation
Right.
of, this lovely red bloom in the midst of this mess. So,
I wonder what it would look like if you made everything but the flower black and white.
I don't know.
Monochromatic, and then just have the red flower there.
I'll give it a,
It's always a great.
Every, can I make a suggestion in that the red ball or whatever that is up there become the upper right-hand part of your image? That we go from the left, exactly.
Yes,
Adrian.
yes.
So it's like reaching up.
And,
Yeah.
all the branches then on the left lead you to that one point of interest that makes you begin to think about, what's that?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is a flower.
Right. I knew it was a flower right away.
Yeah.
It just,
It looks like a red ball that got stuck up there.
yeah,
But it is a flower.
it's worth playing with a little bit more.
Yeah,
See what you get.
all right.
Portrait of a bonsai.
The ripple on top makes it interesting. It really is. See, this can be centered as it is. It should be centered, really.
Yeah.
But I like the ripple effect.
That was manufactured on the top. The problem we all had photographing the bonsais is that the top of them it was cut off at the top. So you saw the background and I didn't like the look, so I added
Right.
that ripple.
Right, nice, Ira.
Oh, you added that, Ira?
Yes, I did.
Nice touch.
Nice touch.
Into building walls now.
Yeah, I thought it was part of the wall.
Very
Yes.
pretty.
No, it wasn't.
How was that done, Ira? How?
No.
Oh, that's a secret. Oh, it's a secret.
I would just make one comment. Personally, I would have had a little space right here. Because the top of the bonsai is like smashed up against the bottom of this dip in the ripple. And I just would have liked to have a little bit more breathing room because the bonsai is growing up as well as out.
Either that or try and have the top of that above the ripple.
Either or, yeah. Then it would have looked like it was in front of the ripple. But very pretty.
Nice.
That's bamboo.
Yeah.
I like it.
That works. It really does.
Yeah.
The
I
light
wouldn't touch
blue in the back.
anything. Yeah.
The light blue in the background. Very nice.
Light blue. Where are you
Light
seeing light blue?
I see in the back on my computer. It looks like a very
No,
pale
black
blue.
and white.
No, it's a
black and white.
Black and
Yeah.
white.
That's what I'm looking at though.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that Dave Cohen's?
No, it's Leslie's.
Oh, thank you for the compliment.
Yeah.
Really.
It's just enough of the bamboo. You know, if there was more, it would have been cluttered. It's just enough.
The original shot was a broader view, but I edited it to this because I thought graphically what you're seeing was a better shot than what I actually took.
Yeah. Nice job.
Thank you.
Mm.
You know, this is very deceiving because it looks like Godzilla. It looks like this humongous creature climbing this mountain.
It does.
It's like a poster for a
And he's
sci-fi
out of
movie
breath because his
from the
mouth is
50s.
open.
Okay, I've been told in the past that you need to have all of him, like not have the tail cut off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No.
It doesn't
Well,
bother
if you're
me.
not gonna do
No.
all of him, you should just have much less of him. But if you're gonna do this much of him, you should have the whole tail.
Right.
I don't completely agree. I think that the emphasis is without the tail. Everything else is the emphasis of the iguana.
Until you guys said that, I didn't even notice that that was missing.
What was
Because I
missing?
know it's there. You know,
Right.
that's that rule of
Right.
continuance.
Absolutely.
That,
And I
that's
would
not,
like to have seen a little
Okay.
bit more of the shadow. I would like to have seen a little bit more to the left.
You could do with a little less gravel on the bottom.
Over here.
Mm-hmm.
that tail doesn't bother me at all. That's really not that important to the image. It's nice. It really is. Looks
But
like a
again,
mountain.
it's not sharp. I don't know why people are having problem with sharp, but
The
that's not,
body is sharp. The problem is that the
It's
head
not.
should probably be darkened to here.
I don't think it's sharp at all.
Yeah, no, the face is not sharp.
Yeah.
No, that's for sure, yeah. Next time, spot meter if you can, if you're using your camera.
I think the focal point is the mountain or whatever it is behind.
This.
You know what just occurred to me? This could be a prehistoric monster, a huge monster getting to the top of a mountain
Right.
and the sky.
We could keep
These
reading
little
into it.
pebbles, the pebbles are actually boulders.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Pretty.
Oh,
Nice composition,
Yeah, nice
soft,
composition.
nice comp, soft. The background is
It's a
really.
very beautiful shot.
Mm. It's smoky background and softness. It's really nice.
Thank you. I added some, I saturated it because it was just very muted. So I had to saturate it a little bit.
Very well done.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful.
I love all this negative space over here. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I
That's a
debated
beautiful
about that.
composition.
I
Really?
debated about how much of that to put there.
I like it.
Thank you.
that's what Susan was talking about before. That's her image.
Mhm.
There's the ripples in the water.
Yeah, you can definitely see the direction of all the raking.
Yeah.
And there's more texture in this than
A lot
in
of-
like the one that I shot where you could hardly see the texture at all. Nice.
So I have a question
Go.
for the more advanced photographers. So in looking at the shot, would you like even heighten the contrast more to make those ripples, the rake lines even more distinct? Would that enhance the picture even more or not?
I don't know if it's
Okay, so
contrast,
the
it's
Or maybe
shadows.
not contrast, but just make them darker. Heighten the shadows in the rake lines so that they're even more pronounced.
Well, you could take this two ways and or
I'm
three
gonna-
ways. And one
I'm
do
gonna-
it is the
Carl,
way you
Carl,
have it
talk a
with-
little louder.
Okay, you can,
Thanks.
you can take this one of several ways. And the first one is to leave it as the beautiful image it is, or two, convert it into black and white and then really do a contrast on it. So literally you've got nothing but black and white working in both the curves in the sand and in the sand, the straight lines of the sand and in
Right.
the rock, and make it into an abstract image that way. But the way it sits is the way it should be. It's really nice.
Mhm. Okay.
I see this differently than Evie sees it. Not that Evie sees it, but I think it's Evie's monster on top, the Godzilla on top of the mountain,
Oh, God.
looking down at a farmer's field that's just been plowed.
Oh, that's really creepy. I like where the rock is positioned in the image.
Mhm.
This guy's a really good composition.
Just like the rock is showing.
The tree bothers me.
Here.
It just seems out of place.
It's like it's growing out of him.
Right. And the ground where it is a little too dark compared to the rest of it. You know, the ground behind him where the tree is.
The dirt.
Yeah, the dirt is a little too dark.
And this is hard because it's down on the ground.
Right.
Like to really, you can't I don't know where you would put yourself to try to get rid of that and still
Maybe
capture it.
Should have moved further toward his legs.
That way. Yeah, maybe.
And on the top of his head, there's a little branch sticking up.
Oh, yeah.
Reminds me of alfalfa. His kind of personality.
I would take this from an angle from the right and see if that would work.
Yeah, I think the whole thing of spending the time to take fewer images, but spending the time to really look at what you're shooting and make your eye go all around the whole edge and see what's included, and then move and try again until you get exactly what you want. So maybe instead of taking 10, you take 1, but it's more carefully thought out.
I probably would have taken some of the rocks from the back and moved them to the front where those holes are. I don't like where there's no rocks by his feet, and
Over here.
I would have filled them in.
Touching.
Adrian, adding to what you just said, one of the things I've noticed throughout this presentation is that the vast majority of the pictures here that could have been improved were shot horizontally. A lot of people really need to begin to look through their cameras or their phones and look at the images vertically and see what's going on there.
Yep. Yeah, one of my teachers once said, if you're shooting a horizontal, you should also be shooting a vertical, figure it out later. But make sure you have plenty of options by trying both ways.
That's what Ted and Lou said.
Mhm. Yeah, they said, when is the best
to
time
add
to
another-
take a vertical? Right after you've shot the horizontal.
Right.
And to add another one of my earlier friends and mentors would say, turn around and see what's behind you at the same time after you got done with the first one.
Yep. Up, down, and all around.
Soft,
Pretty flower, but soft.
Yes.
nice background, just very soft.
I can't figure out if there's a sharp point unless it's right on the edges.
Not really. No.
I'd like to see it square. And you can add some sharpness to it in Photoshop or elements.
Does that really work good? If you have a soft picture, can you really fix it with
A
sharpening?
little, a little.
Minimally.
But the whole picture is soft. Does it really matter that that flower isn't really as sharp as what we're talking about?
No, that's the choice of the
whole-
photographer.
Right, the whole thing's a soft, ethereal look. I like it.
Right. I
The
mean, you could
colors are
spot
gorgeous.
meter, you could spot meter on the flower and maybe raise your f-stop a little bit higher to get it more sharper. You don't stay down in the 3, 4, 5 area, maybe go to an 8. And then if you have to just because it's shaded, you do your exposure compensation, you can go to the right, instead of keeping it at 0, you could set your camera, if you're using a camera, to be slightly to the right or to the left, or I do it where I have one to the left of 0 and one to the right of 0. And I see which one I like the best of the 3. So I take 3 shots. And that way I know, but if I see I'm too dark, I stay away from the left. I start at 0 and go three places to the right. And then I see how that works.
And you can do that on the new smartphone, on the new iPhone. It has exposure compensation in just the regular native app that comes with the phone.
I'm gonna
I
say
will look for that now that I have it.
Okay, something's disturbing to me that pops very often. Adrian, it used to pop with you a lot more often, but less now. Although at times when you do bring it up, it seems appropriate. The spot metering concept. Okay, first of all, if you look at your histogram, either before if you're mirrorless or after if you're not mirrorless, and you look at the histogram and you're not seeing the clipping to the right or the left, where maybe you would then say, maybe it's time, if I'm over clip one way or the other, maybe I will spot meter it. For the most part, if you're shooting and your histogram is somewhat balanced without a lot of clipping left and right, it's not necessary to spot meter. Even you can bring some of that back, especially if you're shooting raw. Most of the time, spot metering really is not as important anymore as it used to be because the cameras compensate, the cameras pick it up. It's very rare that you really need to do that. This is not a picture. This is a matter of soft with aperture and maybe where the focal point might have been, but it's aperture. This isn't about spot metering. It's metered perfectly. It's not too
Right,
light.
the exposure is excellent.
Right, so the spot metering has nothing to do with what our issue is with this picture, which is soft if you really like that ethereal soft look or you don't, which is personal, and that's certainly within the ballpark. But I don't see spot metering as something that is so emphasized so often that I hear it. I just don't.
Yeah,
was
I
told-
mostly use center weighted metering. Spot metering is something that I go to if I have, let's say I'm shooting a dark skinned person in a very pale outfit and I
Correct.
want skin tone, then I'll do
Correct.
spot metering and make sure my spot is right on their face.
Absolutely.
And that's a really good, or if you're shooting an animal and you really want the eye, to really try to use it for that kind of thing. But otherwise, I'm mostly using center weighted.
Yep.
Okay,
I
we have
have-
one more
okay.
picture.
I use the stock matrix metering, and I agree with everything that Ann said about it.
Okay, so this is a little teaser. Our next session in April is going to be on intentional camera movement. And this is Ann's interpretation of a component of a Japanese garden.
The bonsai, the little bonsai area where the yellow wall was.
Mhm.
You just played with it to kind of whet your appetite for where certain things go. This was done with a radial zoom, so you can see the radial flare out from all directions, so to speak. Kind of the radial lines come out everywhere as opposed to twisting your camera. But
Was there a purple
cool.
flower on it, on the green?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was not a filter or anything that you used on that?
No, and it's done with movement of the camera or your lens.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to explain something so people aren't confused. If you do a long exposure to blur water, let's say, but let's say you're on a tripod, you have a very long, you might even have a 20-second exposure. You want the waves to kind of ripple down and give a soft look, or a waterfall, but everything else is perfectly still. So that part of the shot will not be affected. That's just a simple long exposure. That's not camera movement. That's not filters. When you do this, you're actually moving your camera or moving the lens by zooming or turning the camera or panning or swirling. You're doing something else with the camera to gain a certain effect. And it does require a long exposure, but you are literally manipulating and using the camera to do it.
So
Not in
what did you do in this case?
I simply held the camera right here and I took my zoom lens and I just tweaked my zoom lens a little bit. So in essence, I zoomed quickly. I had the shutter, I think, was set for probably a third of a second. And as I hit the shutter, I focus, I hit the shutter, and I just simply turn the lens a little bit, and it gives you that radial burst. But you can also go the other way. You can go out and then zoom the other way. So it has a little bit of a different impact, but there's all kinds of ways and different, and I will explain that with Eileen when we do our clinic. But it's just a different kind of look. It's an abstract kind. Some cases you can't even tell it's a plant. You can't even tell what you're zooming or what you're doing on the subject. It might be a total abstract. In this case, you know it's a tree. You know it's a bonsai tree. You can kind of get the feel for that. So it's not an abstract because you kind of know where it is. Where it would go in a competitive event, I don't know. Could go in abstract. Probably not. Probably landscape. Who knows where it would go.
And she's gonna, for the people that are using smartphones, that's gonna be included as well. I'm gonna send out a handout April 1st so that you have plenty of time to read, digest the material. There's an app, and a very inexpensive app to purchase that allow you to do this on your phone. So watch for that.
And I'm going to say this also to everybody. It's important that when we send this out earlier than the workshop, so that you have time to do it and get it, I'm going to give you the app to get, and it's the same exact app that you can use on your smartphone. That could be an Android or an iPhone. Doesn't matter. It's available in both options. So everybody that's got a smartphone should get it, should put that app on, because Eileen and I are going to be doing the teaching for that part of the smartphone part based upon that app. If you don't have that app, load it, and with the
What's the name
same.
of it?
I'm gonna send out all the information. We're not doing
Yeah,
it now.
it's all gonna come, but you need the app or you're gonna find yourself a little lost and you won't be able to really do the same things with the teaching tools we're gonna give you.
And the app is super easy to use.
Adrian,
It
can you send the app out, like right now, soon, so that we can kind of play with it?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna do it April 1st, but I can certainly do that before.
Yeah,
Thank
then we
you.
can play with it.
Okay, no
Yeah,
problem.
I would, and I've given you the
I mean,
setting.
just the app, so we can
Yeah.
have it.
And I
Okay.
gave you, there's a picture that Adrian's got of exactly the way to set the settings on it. So that's what it should look like
Yes.
to
Hello,
start.
this
Okay,
is
yeah, if we
Adrian.
could send that out as soon as possible.
And we are gonna do DSLRs and mirrorless as well. So we're gonna do it all.
Okay,
Great.
Yes.
Great, thank
Yes.
you.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
okay, great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adrian.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Adrian.
Thanks a lot, Adrian. Nice
Okay.
job.
Bye-bye.